quick message before we start. We hope our conversations open up new perspectives and new ideas for our listeners, and our goal is to be informative. But we want to emphasize that this isn't a substitute for individual therapy, and we're not providing medical or psychological advice here. If you feel moved by what you hear, and if you want to explore it more deeply, or if there's something in your life you'd like to work on, please reach out to an LGBTQ affirming therapist online or in your area. You'll be glad you did.
Welcome to the Psych Out Podcast, where two psychology nerds get psyched up for LGBTQ affirming history, research, and practice. And now your hosts, Chris and Jen.
Welcome, everybody, to the Psych Out Podcast. I'm Chris, and as always, I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Jen.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jen. I am a clinical psychologist who works primarily with LGBTQ clients. And Chris, tell us about you.
I am a master's student studying clinical psychology and specializing in LGBTQ plus affirmative psychotherapy.
And we have another person here.
And
yes, I'm so excited. Okay, I'm going to introduce and I'm going to do all three names. Robert Brooks Cohen, the host of Two Bi Guys, the one host of Two Bi Guys.
Hell yes, the one bi guy host of Two Bi Guys.
The one bi guy, yeah. Okay, awesome. Yes.
Hello.
I love that. I love sticking with it.
Yes. I'm so excited to have you on.
Me too.
And to have this conversation with you. And why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you do?
Cool. Well, hi, I'm glad to be here. I think this is a really cool podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Because I was also a psychology major before I knew I was queer, like long before. And in fact, some of the things I learned in my psychology classes back then did not help me realize, in fact, made me
unsurprising.
Yeah.
Unsurprising.
Especially, yeah.
One of the themes that we see a lot is that psychology has maybe not been very helpful historically to our communities.
Yeah. Especially as a bi person, like I learned about possible explanations of being gay or lesbian, but like there was really nothing about sexual fluidity. But I enjoyed being a psych major. It's always part of how I look at things and look at the world. Then for many years, I am a writer. I was a TV writer for many years. I wrote for Law and Order SVU, among other shows. And then in 2019, right after I left SVU, I created Two Bi Guys. It was right around the time I was coming out as bisexual. I felt like I wanted to hear from other bi men, and there weren't. I couldn't find it. Yeah. There were some articles here and there, but there was nothing long form. There was no podcast. All the bi podcasts were by women, and there were only a few. They were not that great. So my friend Alex and I started the podcast, Two Bi Guys. We created the thing we wanted to listen to. And then Alex dropped away after a couple seasons, and I decided to keep it going. I renamed it Two Bi Guys, by one bi guy. And that led to the book that I wrote. During COVID, I started interviewing bi men who are married to women because I realized that was a huge part of a huge majority of people listening to the podcast were bi men who are married to women. And I realized it's a very big underrepresented population. So I started interviewing them.
Yeah, you mentioned in the book that it was really, you were starting to see that those episodes of the podcasts were sort of becoming what was speaking to your audience and forming that audience.
They popped.
And a minority of a minority.
Right.
A minority of a minority.
And not the minority of the minority that I was expecting, really.
Yeah.
But it made so much sense because for many years, that's where I was sort of on the Kinsey 1 or 2, kind of more straight, but a little bit attracted to men. And I just started to see how many people are there in that category. Yeah. And so the book is an oral history / memoir. I interviewed a bunch of these guys. I sort of tell their stories. And through the book and the podcast, I'm now doing life coaching, mostly for bi men, but also for other people too. And so that's sort of what I do. That's the basics. I still try to write stuff for TV and movies. We'll see how that goes.
My favorite thing about your story, I mean, is just the like, I'm gonna say a cliche, guys. It's like, go with me. Making the change you want to see in the world, right? Like there is a gap I see that I could use, and I'm going to make it be.
Yeah.
And I just love that. And on some level, that's also what we're trying to do in that, like you mentioned, psychology not being all that great historically, where we're kind of trying to air out that dirty laundry and then like present other ways of thinking. But it just was such a personal, like part of your personal journey. And you're so transparent about that in such wonderful ways. That like must be so like comforting and inspiring to the people who are exposed to it.
Well, right. And it was so authentic to me at the time. And it's like, I think that idea of just like creating what I wanted to consume, and also this idea lately has been guiding me of just like being where I'm called to be and like following my passions and then trusting that like something will come out of it, rather than what I did when I was a straight boy for 10 years after grad school, which was like chase what the industry wanted from me and write stories that I thought would sell and do things, you know, try to do social media that I thought would go viral. And instead, I'm just actually following my passions and what I'm interested in. And it's, you know, one thing leads to another.
I love that. And I mean, it's such a parallel of like writing the identity that is authentic to you rather than writing the identity that feels like. I felt like my own experience, at least in retrospect, is that there was a system of like, related to our economic system, related to the ideological system of the society in which we are in, of heterosexual relationships being the productive ones that like that matter, that forward the culture, that, you know, produces, like, you know what I mean? There was something about being the ideal worker and also being the ideal like spouse that I was living for without realizing I was living for it.
Interesting.
This idea of like when you actually stop doing that is actually when you interface in the world that is in a productive way, in a way that is liberating.
Right. And like, why not? A
different kind of productive.
You only live once. Why not live that way where you feel called to be?
Exactly. Yes. So then let's ask, like, we've talked about this a little bit before we were recording, but you know, there's so much invisibility. Like for you, it was like such a literal invisibility of like the podcast world and nothing. Why do we think that is? Why do we think that we are the majority of the LGBTQ like population, which I don't think we've said already here. So let me just say, we are the majority, y'all.
We are the majority
of the LGBTQ population. And there's many, many like population studies really making that. There's a lot of like unity and findings around that. And like the cumulative majority, like of everybody else.
Right. We're over 50%. 57.
And yet we're not talked about. In so many ways. And resources are not geared toward bisexual experiences, and our mental health outcomes as a result are much worse than most of the LGBTQ community. I'm speculating as a result of, but probably.
No, it's true. It's true.
The last paper I read on that like talked about the health outcomes had a good 20 citations on it.
Okay, there you go.
It's
this is why we have to have a current student. We'll bring someone else in too when you graduate. Just kidding.
I'll age out of it.
Right. Oh, totally. Okay, so like, why do you think that this is? What is going on? That there is this like invisibility, this like shadow or pocket of a back room that bisexuality and discourse about it is banished to.
I think there's many reasons. Some are
No, I want one soundbite. I want you to explain it.
It's because I don't know. Like, and some are like complicated and some are not so complicated. Like like I think one reason in the world we live in today is like so many bi people can pass for straight because they're in straight looking relationships, and without asking someone and talking to them, people just make the assumption that like, yeah, if it's, but then that also, it is about like, what is sexuality? And like, gay and straight are these finite, definitive, like, yeah, you can see it based on what relationship a person is usually. But when you're somewhere in the middle, like, or when you define bisexuality as I do with the Robin Oakes definition, which is about the potential for attraction, like I call myself bi because I notice the potential for attraction to more than one gender, then like how it is kind of invisible by nature because it's a potential in you. And so, yes, there's some stigma in like erasure that we can get to, but there's some part of it that as you're talking, I'm realizing is like, it actually isn't readily visible all the time. It's about something that's like deep inside you that you can choose to share or not, and in what way. And so like another reason it's gets erased is because there's shame and stigma, and people then keep that potential inside and they don't talk about it. But by its nature, it's about this thing that you really can choose to show it or not, and how much to share it. That will start there. I'm sure there's more.
What you're making me think of is, yes, there's this element of passing, but I mean, as you alluded to with like how you define bisexuality or how you define it for yourself, like even when you're, within a broader queer community and you're like asserting your identity and searching for community and like shared experiences, like we feel the need to like, offer up these justifications, these definitions for like, I'm bi and here's how I know. And that's, I feel like I end up having like, I know that lesbian and gay people are often in the same situation and have to speak to, pretty similar things, but I feel like I hear that conversation more often these days from bi people. It's a little more of that justifying, like, I'm here in the community and here's why.
Like, how do you know? Well, and that makes me think of this just like default straightness and default heteronormativity, where it's like, why is that the default? It's really hard to unlearn that, which is pretty strict and rigid. Whereas, and then you need like a reason to know you're bi, which might take a lot of experience and processing to figure that out and be able to talk about it. Whereas like, what if bi were the default, which like it makes sense to me in the world. If I was born into a different universe without this society that's been created, like maybe that would be the norm. It feels like a more natural place where there are no rules and there is no like box to be put in.
If gender is a construct, then sexuality, especially as an identity, is a construct, and attraction is also perhaps in part a construct. So I think that's a really interesting, and I have seen some some theorists, maybe also therapists, I don't know, who talk about that, who posit that theory, and they are they get so drowned out by these other points of view that are like, no, boxes. Straight box, gay box, weirdness. Like they get really drowned out. So I think that's such a good, and the potential to surprise ourselves and to change over time and to be fluid and to not fit into one shape all the time. I think it's very scary to many, many people.
I want to come back to that because I have something on that, but also it makes me think what you were saying about like, we boil so much down in terms of gender and sexuality to like procreation. And that was what I learned in psychology class, was everything comes back to procreation and survival of the fittest and all this stuff. And like,
isn't that a fun branch of psychology that never overlooks anything and doesn't at all make things up?
Oh my God. That's like the one that I've been unraveling for the past 20 years where I'm like, you never told me about this. And you never told, why didn't you mention that? And it's not actually so cleanly aligned. And now the more they're studying other animals, especially animals that are like close to humans, like chimps and bonobos, but also like ducks and dolphins. And they are noticing so much queer sex among other animals. They just weren't looking for it before.
Yeah.
And so this idea that we tie everything back to which humans can procreate with each other, because like that's a science fact. Some people can procreate, some people can't. But like then we base our whole lives on that. And it's like we don't need to. And most other animals aren't doing that either. They're not like saying, I procreated with this, therefore I'm only gonna be with that gender. Right.
And that's historical that we look at things that way.
Yeah.
And it's a specifically like it's an outgrowth of evolution as a theory, which I'm not being an anti-evolution, just to be clear, but like people took Darwinism and went in weird directions with it. And psychoanalysis and the way like psychology started to talk about identity. Like this is like 18th, 19th century stuff, y'all. This is like the Enlightenment that is still driving us. And when I talked about how like being in a quote straight relationship felt productive, that is exactly like you're in the procreative model, even if you're not procreating, and therefore you're part of this like natural selection, evolutionary discourse. And that is very European and, and American now, and very like 18th, 19th century. It's historical. It's not like a universal inerrant fact.
Yeah.
And it's had so much like ripple effect. It's been so long lasting, but also, it wasn't that long ago. And it just makes me think about, when we talk so much about language on our podcast, it's like, is this really important? Like, why is it really important? I think that's, you can draw a direct line between the sort of language that Freud used in talking about, conceptualizing bisexuality as a phase of moving toward maturity. And then that still gets thrown in people's faces, today by people who've not taken a psychology class, who, wouldn't be able to make that connection. But that basic idea of it's a phase is still used as an attack and as a dismissal, as so many other things.
Yeah.
The language matters.
Yeah. Well, and I think also to get to something you said, you tie together something you both just said is like, bisexuality can feel pretty threatening to monosexual people, both straight, gay, lesbian, like it, if you accept that someone is bi and it's not a transition from one side of the spectrum to the other, if you accept it, then you're accepting the spectrum of it all. And if you're accepting the spectrum, then gay and straight are not so binary.
Yeah.
And then that is then threatening to both gay and straight people, at least if they're not secure in their identity. So like, I think that's why there's a lot of bi erasure and biphobia from both sides, is that like, if this person is bi, what does that mean for me? Does that mean maybe it's not as fixed as I thought it was? And do I have to look inside myself and really confront certain things? And people don't want to, so they push it away.
At LGBTQ Evolutions, we know that change starts with people like you. Every act of kindness, every dollar, and every moment of your time brings us closer to removing the barriers that prevent our friends and family from being themselves. Together, we can create a brighter, more compassionate future for our community. Donate today with the link below.
And it's incredibly politically threatening too.
Yeah.
Right. And we're gonna do, I hope, an episode on this at some point. Which is like the trap of like born this way. And the reason why it's a trap politically, right, is because we've had to like make the argument that people are utterly, inherently, permanently gay, lesbian. And I'm not trying in any way to like say that is not something that people experience, but that they are legitimate and should not be discriminated against because they can't help it and they don't have any choice. And then for bisexuality, not that we choose to be bisexual, but there is some idea of, well, yeah, but you could choose to be in a straight appearing relation. And the idea that we have that like feels like it weakens that political argument, which is it's not a liberatory political argument.
Yeah.
Right. The argument shouldn't be, we can't help it. No one can help it. They're born this way. The argument should be, all of this is normal and valid, and anyone can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, if it is a choice, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It doesn't matter why.
Come on in.
Right. Like, that's actually fine.
It doesn't matter why. Two people should be able to get married and have all the same rights as anyone else, regardless of gender.
Yeah.
Regardless of why they're doing it. Just assume the best and don't worry about it.
Yeah. And Jen, you and Rob were talking earlier about, like, you know, that what is it about fluidity that feels so threatening? And I think that, to me, is why fluidity feels so threatening. Is it really blows up that born this way narrative. Like, again, not that some people do not have a fluid experience of their orientation, of their gender, but like, once you open that up as a possibility in human experience, then people have doubts, or people use the possibility of it as a political cudgel to be like, no, everyone's choosing. There's, you know, everyone has doubts and everyone's choosing. And this is a completely political identity and therefore wrong. I'm like, okay, but why would the politics of it be wrong?
Yeah. And I think some people don't, you know, they don't want their kids to turn out queer. They don't want their kids to turn out trans, right? And they're afraid of that. And I always think that comes back to, like, what was that parent not able to express in their childhood? And they're 100%. Perpetuating it. It's like, well, I wasn't allowed to be myself in this way. I conformed and I got through life and it served me well. And so my kid is going to be straight heteronormative also. Like, it comes from a place of, we're all locked up in these labels, or at least especially straight people are locked up.
We don't know how to use labels playfully.
Right.
That's so beautifully said.
Oh, why, thank you. This brings me to, speaking of beautifully said, my absolute favorite pull quote from your book. I'm going to read you back what you wrote.
I'm excited to hear it.
You say, and this is from your intro, bisexuality, and you just say it is, but it is an identity that forces us to think differently, lead into our quirks, you have in quotes, and non-conforming thought patterns, and accept ourselves and each other with radical empathy. And I mean, talk about, like, if you want to summarize the liberatory possibility of taking bisexuality seriously, the two phrases that came out to me, of course, is lean into our quirks and radical empathy. And I want to hear about both. Can you tell me more about those?
Yeah, sure. So, like, I like that quote. That's good. It sums up for me this idea that coming out as bi and accepting it for myself was like a key that unlocked a lot of other parts of me, that, like, this, because I was confused about it and the non-binariness of it, I kept it hidden for a long time, which is an experience many bi people have. They'll often come out later in life, because, like, we can pass even to ourselves as straight. And yet there was more and more tension building as I was pushing down certain thoughts and ignoring things. And we get comfortable, like, repressing not all of our, like, it's kind of hard to repress everything, I think, but it feels easy to repress just like a little bit. And that's the experience for many bi people, is like, they're mostly authentic, but they're just not, this part is not important. And actually it really is. And it's really hard to repress even a part of it. Whatever thoughts you're having that you can't express is really takes a toll over time, and it builds up, and people downplay it, but it's actually quite important. And so once I got through that and got over the shame of it and really embraced it and came out and started to feel like, oh, not only is this okay, but it's giving me strength and power and identity. And not only are other people responding nicely, they're coming out to me as bi. They're saying, thank you for sharing that. Like, it's building these new connections that I didn't expect, and, like, how prevalent this is. And, like, then I think it became a key, because once I realized this and went through that process, then I started to think about all these other things in my life that, like, I had shame about, or that I was confused about, or that like what I thought didn't really fit with like society. And then I'm kind of like, oh, maybe this is the same. Like, and maybe I can actually trust myself and get in touch with myself and not worry so much about what other people think. And so like, what was the first part of that quote? Lean into your quirks. Yeah.
Lean into our quirks. I love the word quirks for it too, because it makes it so joyful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was always into quirky people.
Yes.
And I realize why now, because it's like they're comfortable with themselves, whatever that is. And like, if you're sharing a quirk, it's like, you must be comfortable with all of it, right? Like to share the weird part of you. And I think whatever that thing is about you that you feel is weird or that you're too ashamed to share, that's your superpower. That's your key to unlock everything else. Like, you know, maybe there are steps to build up to it, but it's like, that actually is an important thing. If it's something you really can't imagine other people knowing, that's a powerful thing for you. That's an important part of you.
Yes.
And then like, because the radical acceptance part is like, do that for yourself, because the longer you try to change yourself and make yourself fit into a box, the more you're pushing those things down, and it's really difficult.
Yeah.
And when you accept yourself, you know, stuff starts to flower and bloom. But also like, because I've had this experience of being misunderstood and invisible and not thinking this was real, and then coming to the other side of it and knowing like, oh, I really should have trusted myself more. I did know what I thought was true was true.
Yeah.
Because of that, I now radically accept everyone else when they share what is going on with them.
Yeah.
Maybe I haven't felt the same way. Maybe I don't totally get it at first and want to ask questions, but I believe it, like believe other people's experience. So it's taught me that too.
Yeah.
That was a long rant. Sorry.
No, rant? No, that was friggin' beautiful. That was gorgeous.
That's why you're here. And thank you.
Cool. Okay, good.
Yes, exactly. We do actually want you to talk.
Good.
Not just us, but Chris, you say something and then I have some thoughts about it too that I think are great. Go, Chris.
Something I really liked, going off of that quirkiness that you talk about, and how, coming out or, really be in touch with your bisexuality felt like it gave you a bit of a license to like share those quirks. You also in the book talk about how it can go the other way. And I really connected with that. There's your second chapter, Gregory, and how weirdness in quotes unlocks queer possibilities. That really clicked with me, because I was thinking about, before I had words for bisexuality or non-binariness, like I did think of myself as just a weird kid, and like people would tell me that. And sometimes that was bullying, and sometimes
I'm with you, and it wasn't just me thinking of myself that way.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes that was bullying, but sometimes it was just sort of like, sometimes there was a bit of a community with that, or you would see it in weird adults who would feel comfortable like connecting with you because they had been through what you've been through.
Yeah.
And I just really liked the picture you painted of it sort of going the other way, of like how embracing your quirks early can be a way to like become comfortable, like exploring your sexuality and your gender as well.
Right. It's like whatever kind of works for you. For me, it was like I was so scared for many years of being attracted to men that like once I got over that hump, everything else felt easier. But yeah, like for some people, just like, a certain type of social interaction, or just like getting over some other thing that's unrelated to sexuality. If that's the hard thing, then like, it's just like gives you confidence to confront it and do it. And then gives you validation when you often realize, oh, my fears about whatever this was are not coming true.
Exactly.
And you get step by step more comfortable being yourself in whatever way. And then it
Or they're coming true and I can handle them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point too. Right.
Yeah.
They're coming true, but they're not nearly as bad as I thought.
Right. Like, this is bad, but I can handle this. And I'm, maybe now that I've seen myself handling something, I feel like I can build toward handling more, and I can see the rewards of that.
Yeah.
Totally. And the positives of being open about it, plus whatever negative is happening, is like, once you feel that, it's like, oh, this is so much better.
Yeah.
Even though I have to deal with this thing, like, it's so much better than worrying about this thing and not sharing this thing. Like,
yes, exactly.
It's like double duty to do that.
I want to go back to the term radical. And any like psychologist out there who's listening heard radical acceptance and probably went, oh, I've heard that term before. And I always have trouble when I use that term defining the radical part of it. Like, what is radical? And what I heard you say that I love and clicks for me with it, because sometimes I say, well, it's radical because you accept that there are difficult outcomes and that you can handle them, right? That's part of the radical. But what you said was even more, it's radical because it sort of sweeps away the blocks inside of you and the blocks between you and other people. That's what's radical about it. It's transformative. Right?
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even remember why I used that word, but it makes sense to me because it is like it's like a transformative thing. It's transformational. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I always, and plant medicine has helped me with this too, but like, I have lots of doubts and worries and fears, and like, it's you come up with stories and justifications and rationalizations, and like, once you just kind of have acceptance of what is, and it changes everything.
Yeah. Well, and it makes me think, like our very first episode, and I just am going to refer back to this so often in this podcast because it's sort of our thesis statement on some level, is the difference between psychology that is designed to get you to fit, right? To get you to be a productive worker, or like make whatever relationship you're in work, or make you not seem autistic or ADHD to other people, make you not annoying, like whatever, right? Or like the very early, we talked about like the whole development of, for instance, the diagnosis of PTSD was about getting people to get back onto the battlefield, right? So like that whole idea of psychology serving a purpose of conformity, I would say capitalism, right? Like military industrial complex, all of that, versus the idea of what we're doing being liberatory, being about people actualizing as their full selves, being about them connecting to other people in a powerful way that has like material consequences in the world. And like when we talk about bisexuality in this like really raw and honest way, it's so clear how much that leans toward the liberatory side of looking at psyche and looking at psychology. Right.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. Right. And that's how it has felt to me. The more I learn, it's not like I'm learning stuff that I'm adding to my identity. Like it almost feels the opposite. It's like, as I'm learning, I'm breaking free of everything and all the rules and norms. Yeah.
Man, I wish people could see your gestures too, because it's so beautiful. Like it's
I talk with my hands.
You can like there's this like expansive, like I do too, but like you can feel it with the way you're gesturing. It's so beautiful.
Yes,
that's great.
The energy flows through me now.
It does. It flows through you. One kind of side question that I have that I wanted to hear your opinion about, and then I'm going to put you on the spot to give people advice for a second. Not psychology advice, just sweet advice.
Okay.
I've seen in some of the literature that I've been reading for like the history of how we've engaged with bisexuality. And I saw a little bit in your book as well. We talked about like the kind of parallel of bisexuality with gender fluidity and how those kind of have a natural crossover and overlap. But I've also seen non-monogamy come up. And I, as like a super monogamous person, don't have like an instinctual relationship to that. I don't draw that line very well. And of course, there's that political like issue of like, no, non-monogamy is not the same as being promiscuous. We're not doing the bisexual stereotype.
Yeah.
But could you talk about how you see those two as being for many people, like intersecting or connected?
Yeah. So like in the research for my book, like I found that most of the couples remained monogamous after one of them, even if one is bi, but that they all ended up talking about non-monogamy, like all of them, which like, even though it's a small sample, that's significant.
Yes, it is.
Like even the ones most that didn't open up talked about it a lot. So there's definitely like a relationship, whether it's perceived or real, it's gonna come up for bi people.
Yeah.
So like, that's why I say it's important to talk about, but it's also important to remember that these are two separate spectrums and that like, there might be a little bit of correlation, but there isn't a ton. I think like bi people are like 10% more likely to be non-monogamous, but that's not a lot. It's slightly, and
no, it's really not.
No, yeah, and that's the statistics I found. I'm looking for better ones. I think it's kind of old, but it was like 90% of straight couples are monogamous and 80% of bi couples are monogamous, something like that.
Yeah. I wonder if they get sort of put in a basket together in some of the like theoretical stuff in psychology and sociology, just because they're both breaking some kind of like nuclear family mold.
Yeah.
Right. So there's something in this, like I overuse this word, but whatever. There's something liberatory in both of them that feels like they rhyme or it's a similar flavor.
Yeah.
And so they kind of get talked about together, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Right. Yeah. To me, that's why they're related in my head, is because they're both like transgressions of heteronormativity. And once you've transgressed in one way, like come out as fluid, or like, then you're going to reevaluate all the other structures that you've been given. And so like, it also makes perfect sense to me that you're more monogamous and this like doesn't happen for you, like it, because they're totally separate. And so it's not related to if you're bi or not, are you non-monogamous. It's just about like, if you're queer or bi, you're more likely to ask yourself the question, am I monogamous or not?
Yeah.
Yes.
And most straight people just never ask, and it's default straightness plus default monogamy.
Yeah.
So once you're asking yourself one of these questions, then you might, and it works in the other way too, like straight swingers who are non-monogamous, they often then will start to notice a little sexual fluidity because they broke down this norm. Now they can actually confront themselves with less fear and find where they fall on other spectrums. So that's how I think it's related, even though the spectrums are separate.
That's such an interesting parallel. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
A lot of what's radical about this move is radically asking questions.
Yeah. Radically asking questions.
Yeah. And self-interrogation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And accepting what you find. And also like, I think stuff like kink and dynamic, subdynamic, like all of that, these are like somewhat separate spectrums. But once you look at yourself on one of them, you start to notice other things that maybe weren't bubbling to the surface.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it makes me think of like, it's so clear to you and it's so clear to us as you're describing it, the way this is like individual and it's, a personal journey of once I've opened up with myself and been authentic and asked myself what else I might not be being authentic about, then I discover other aspects of my identity. But there's so much, queer phobia. And I'm thinking of a term that was ubiquitous in the 90s that you don't hear as much anymore, just like the idea of the gay agenda.
Right. Yeah.
Which was,
I've heard it. I've heard it in my profession, like in the last 15 years. But anyway, sorry, go on.
In the last 15 years. Yeah. I'm glad to have been rid of it, but I know it's still around. It's like, what rock am I going to lift up and fight it? But like, there's that assumption explicit in that like, once someone like touches on this authentic idea of their identity, then they give up the authenticity and just like call up a phone number and be like, okay, what other like things do I need to like do with my life? It's like,
send me the kit and the manual.
Yeah, send me the kit and the manual. I'm in. What have I been doing wrong so far? I'm like, that's not it. That's not it.
Yeah.
So I will say my experience, like coming out, is I kind of wanted to do that at first. I was a little bit like, could somebody tell me how I do this, please? Could I just I need a guru or a mentor, please?
For sure.
Like, I definitely had that.
Yeah, we all seek out community, and that's like the first thing you want from community when you're like finding identity is you have questions, and you're going to listen hard to the answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why you might want a life coach.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that transition. Oh my gosh. Oh, patting myself on the back.
Indeed. Nice. Amazing.
Okay. So like speaking of like a moment of mentorship and community, like I think the last question that I have is, what would you say to people who are maybe in the position that you were in before you started opening up all of those questions and listening to all of those answers, who are still in that constrained space in their life? What would you say?
Yeah. Well, let me say what happened to me first and then what I would say, which is like when I was starting to, I started to notice this stuff throughout my 20s. And then it was like age 29 when I was finally like, I got to explore this. And then age 30, 31, when I was like realizing what it meant and that I was going to come out at some point. And the transformative moment for me that changed everything, because for a while I was like, I will never do this. And then I was like, I will never tell anyone this. I will take this to the grave. I'm doing it, but I will take it to the grave. And pretty quickly that shifted. And it was because I went to a bi discussion group in New York City. And I remember the first day I went, like every moment of it. I remember where I sat. I remember what we talked about. I remember I wasn't going to talk and I ended up talking a lot. And I mostly remember how I felt listening to other people talk and going like, oh yeah, I think that way too. And I had like, that makes sense. That makes sense. Oh, that makes sense. And he's saying it like it's totally normal. And like, I don't think that's normal, but it's true. And so like, I just kind of like being in a physical space with bi people who thought that being bi was normal and were sharing it openly, that was what clicked it for me. And I was like, if they're doing that, why can't I? Like, I live in the same world as them. That seems much better. Just because the world is telling me a lot of other stuff about this doesn't mean that's true. I could be like these people and live my truth. And so like, just like knowing you're not alone, knowing it's normal, those things are really helpful and validating. And so like, I guess what I would say to people, if you can have that experience, it's a great thing. Like, put yourself out there and you will receive that experience in some form, even if it's not a discussion group in New York City. Like, the more you put yourself out there, the validation will come back to you. But what I would say is, even if that doesn't happen, this is totally normal and it's totally valid and it's all a spectrum. And like all those doubts, worries, fears, and stigma, they're coming from outside of you.
Yes.
And what's really helpful for me now that I didn't do back then, but I would recommend, is like getting quiet, however that it works for you, and getting in touch with yourself. So like meditation, yoga, reading books you're interested in, just like get quiet and slow down and get in touch with your real feelings. And don't overthink and let them fly away. Just like relax into them and see if you can feel them, and then trust, like you can trust yourself, even if it doesn't fit with what you're being told.
I just want to repeat and underline that last piece, because I feel like that's at the core of everything we've been saying, is you can trust yourself.
And there's more value in trusting yourself than you might think, because of what we've been saying about, it can feel like a small part of our identity that we're repressing or just not speaking to. And it's really hard to know like how big of a part of your identity it is until you're able to start sharing it.
Yes. And the society we currently live in is kind of sick in some ways. Like, I hope it gets better. I am optimistic, but like, there's a sickness right now, and being your authentic self in whatever small way that is and sharing that is how we will heal the world. And like all these structures of it's right.
Yeah.
Yes. It's radical, one might even say.
Like, patriarchy and fascism and all these like things and all this homophobia are like happening. And like the way to heal from it is you start with yourself and accept yourself and trust yourself.
Yeah. What you said earlier that I loved, which was reflecting on, I don't think that's normal, but it's true. And, the more we're in a political environment where what's normal is being enforced with the force of law, the more important it is to be like, okay, what is normal is not necessarily related in any way to what is true.
Right. Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of, stuff that becomes normalized that is not helpful for us. It's happening now. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that we haven't been able to touch upon that you want to, or Chris, anything that you want to ask? I mean, I want to talk to you for like another 3 hours, but in terms of this conversation, anything?
I could always talk forever, but one thing I think that the bi community really needs, in addition to more resources and funding and research, because I keep in my book, I found what I could, but there's like not a ton.
There's not a lot.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot about how, the mechanism for doing that research is actively under attack right now.
Yeah. And there's just not an appetite for it. And probably not an appetite for gender and fluidity research. Yeah.
Yep.
But so we need all that. We also I think building community is a really important thing, especially right now. And so that's sort of where I'm doing coaching with individual clients and always available for that. But I'm also trying to start more discussion groups and community experiences and Discord servers so that we can continue connecting, even if you can't meet people in person, and in person is good too. So, if you're interested in bi discussion stuff, come to my website, and I'm going to be doing more and more of that in the future.
Wonderful. And there will be a link to your website in our description, of course, but do you want to say it too, for those who don't want to click into the description? What's your website?
It's robertbrookscohen.com and /coaching for the coaching page, or you can click and get there. And I'm Robert Brooks Cohen on Instagram and TikTok. Oh, and actually one other thing is coming through that I think we talked about before.
Please. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe did we? I can't remember if we talked about it before we started or during, but fluidity is like my book is about Kinsey 1s and 2s who are more attracted to a different gender, but somewhat same-sex attracted. They're in mostly straight passing marriages, but fluidity is a hot topic right now, even without the bi label. And I've met a lot of gay identified men lately who are starting to notice fluidity in them and being interested and engaged with the stuff I'm talking about, even while they maintain a gay identity. And so I just think it's an interesting topic from every angle. Yeah. And there's something that I think everyone can tap into in some way to understand this spectrum. I don't know why that came up just now, but
no, I love it. And I mean, what I take from that and what I think is a maybe one reason why it's coming up near the end of our conversation is never assume that you fully achieve liberation or that you fully know everything about yourself. Mm-hmm. Isn't that awesome that you can keep achieving liberation? You can keep moving along that path, and that you can keep finding out things about yourself that maybe you didn't know. Yeah. And that's a never ending process.
Yeah, indeed. Right? Yes. Yeah. And it is for me too, even though I'm have this label by what it comes with is an openness to anything. It's almost like it's a label that's an anti-label, although it is a label. But like I'm moving more toward just queerness in general and meaning whatever it means to me.
Yeah. Words can open instead of close. Labels can expand instead of contract. For sure.
Labels can be intentionally, an umbrella.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, okay, everybody. I am just so thankful. I'm so thankful to have you here. I hope we can have more conversations in the future.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We talked a little bit before we started recording about some things that I'd love to have you come talk about again.
Sure. Anytime. I'm happy to.
So it'd be wonderful. Yes. Thank you so much. Chris, anything that you want to say?
No, I've been cool. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, Rob. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. This was really fun.
Absolutely. Okay, everybody. That is the end of this conversation. And we will talk to you all soon enough, soon-ish, in 2 weeks. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
You've been listening to the Psych Out Podcast. For more information on today's subject, information about our charity, or to find our Patreon, check the links below. Join us next time to learn more about the psychology of who we are.
These are difficult times. We know that some of you out there are suffering so much that you might be thinking of ending your life. If you're having thoughts of suicide, please reach out to professionals for help. You can go to an emergency room, call 911, or reach out to the hotlines we have linked in this description below. I know that many of us have had bad experiences in medical settings, but there are people, many people in this field who want you to live. Please reach out for help so that you can find them. We want you around for our next talk.